It's time to start all the embroidery videos on the beautiful Pfaff Creative Icon 2. And if this is new to you, we're going to start at the beginning and talk about some good hooping techniques and tips to help you be successful every single time. So first thing that I like to do is if I'm working on woven fabric, I'm going to probably be using tearaway stabilizer. If I'm working on stretchy fabric, that fabric will need cutaway stabilizers. Plus, I'm also going to put 2 layers of stabilizer under my fabric, and when all possible, hoop all the layers together in one hoop. Now, that's not always possible. So for example, if you're trying to embroider on, say, a corner of a napkin or maybe a cuff of something that's already been made, you aren't going to be able to hoop that up. So there are other stabilizers to help you with that product. You will find everything that I talk about stabilizers for 4 hours, by the way, in an online course called Machine Embroidery 101. Everything you need to know before you start embroidering. But we're going to just go over some of those basic tips right now and show you just what and how to make hooping become easier every time you get to embroidering on your machine. Okay, so first off, I am a fan of 505 spray. I've already gone ahead and sprayed my 2 layers of stabilizer together. I'm just giving you a little redo there. We did a whole video on that. So now this piece is going to act as one. This is like Post-it note in a can. It's like a nice insurance policy that everything's going to get hooped up but not stretched while you're hooping it. Okay, let's take a look at our hoops. First off, you always want to find the outer hoop with the bracket. The bracket is what attaches to the embroidery arm. So I like to lay that down on my table first. I'm going to kind of do it where this is in front of me, so it'll be kind of at an angle for you, but that's okay. Next, go ahead and open up the bottom clip. As you open that up, loosen the screw. Now, if you get this too loose, it will come apart, but there are just some basic pieces that can be put together, and we do have videos about how to put that back together. This can also, over time, if you really force it a lot and don't open it up completely, you can probably break this. I have over time, and it only happens when you're using it. So having a spare is a good one. Keep in mind that you have other hoops that came with this machine, and that is your backup spare is on one of those other hoops. And then when you replace that, maybe you buy a spare extra one. So it's just over time, you're going to probably wear that out, just FYI. Loosen the screw and open the clip. There's a spring in here that's going to help keep it open, which is a lifesaver when you have something thick that you're embroidering. You'll also find that at the bottom, there is an arrow right here. Might be a little hard to see, but there's also an arrow on the inner hoop, and it also says what size you're using, because your machine's going to either tell you what size of hoop to use, or you're going to tell the machine which size of hoop you're using. So one of the two have to match, because the machine is smart enough to know if you didn't put the right hoop on. And that is a pretty cool feature too. Okay, so those 2 arrows, if they match up, then everything else works really well together. Now, if you do have markings on your fabric, maybe a horizontal and a vertical marking, you can set this here and kind of get it straight. The beauty of the Pfaff Creative Icon 2, though, is there is a feature in the machine called precise positioning, and with that, you can hoop crooked. So once you master that part of your machine, then it doesn't really matter how you hoop, which is awesome. All right, so usually what I do is I set the inner hoop on top of my fabric, pick up the whole unit of stabilizer and everything, and bring it towards my outer hoop. The other thing to do, and I always tell people, you need to stand up while you hoop. If you have a work surface that is taller, like a cutting table or a countertop, this is going to be your perfect hooping level, and so it's going to be really easy. So you can kind of see it's all staying together right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work to get the top part in here first, and as I do that, because it's tearaway stabilizer that I'm using today, I kind of need to give it a little crease. So by pushing it in at the top and dipping it down, next I'm going to take the corner where the screw is and kind of bring it off the edge of the table, because what I want to do is kind of take my fingers and pull this kind of open, so to help get the whole rest of the hoop in to the middle. Now, if you cannot push this down in here because it's too tight, then all you need to do is come over here and loosen that screw until you're not mashing this down. It should just go in gently, and right now it is open plenty, and this hoop feels like it wants to just pop back up. So that's why I'm kind of holding this down. Once you have that all the way down and in place, this should be very easy to close. And actually right now, yep, it's not too bad. If it's going to be really tight, that's when you want to open this a little bit more, loosen the screw, click it gently close. Oh, that was much better. That's where you will then not get into trouble of breaking that little clip in the future after lots of wear. So just kind of keep that in mind. Everything's being held together now. What you want to do is just take your fingers and tighten on the screw as far and as tight as you can. Then tighten some more. So you are going to get a nice little callus kind of on your thumb and finger there, but that's actually what it takes. Once you have done that, my last little trick, and watch this, you can kind of hear the difference. Starting now, you can hear the hoop scratching the table. Okay, so to make it just a little quieter and also to get that fabric in there, notice I didn't start pulling on my fabric. Really, everything should be at rest in the middle, and that's where that spray comes in really handy. So the last thing is, to make it quiet, is take your thumbs on the inside corner of each of the corners and push just a little past flush. And when you do that, everything kind of gets one last little tighten, and we'll start to, and yes, you're probably going to get a little tiny crease in your stabilizer right here, but that is not a problem. You are not embroidering that close to that area. But now listen. Ah, smooth. So that's going to be nice and smooth as it runs across your bed of your embroidery machine. Now we are ready to get ready to embroider, whether that's putting everything on for threading, maybe checking that you have a fresh needle in. Put a full bobbin in if this is like your first time of the day. I always do that. And if you haven't cleaned underneath your throat plate lately, it's a good idea to get everything cleaned out and freshened up before you start an embroidery project. Now, here, after you've hooped it, you don't want to put your hoop on the machine. Do you see how far away from the embroidery foot it is? This should be clue number one. To not do this. Your machine actually will not let you do this, so that's why I'm like telling you don't put your hoop on, because it's going to tell you to take it off. What I do is I actually just slide it under my foot and set it somewhere inside the embroidery area, because this arm is going to move all the way in and then tell me to put my hoop on. So I'm always more ready for my hoop by just setting it nearby. That also allows me to maybe line up some of my threads or anything that I might need for the project kind of in front of the machine. Now what we have in front here is actually a sample of our Embroidery Essentials online course. If you haven't checked out the free videos that you can use and explore what this course is all about. This really helps you go from zero to hero on your embroidery journey and master everything about your embroidery machine the fastest. So it is our most popular embroidery online course. It's actually our most popular course across our whole platform. And if you want to really learn your machine inside and out, go ahead, check out those links in the description below and see what that course is. And I would love to see you in class soon.